Hey, Alicia. Oh, there you
Hey,
are. How you doing?
I'm
Yeah,
good. I'm good.
there was some type of problem. We're already live on Facebook. I'm just letting you know. But
Hi, everybody.
I don't know. Let me check and see and make sure it took. It looks like it did. All right, let me see. Yeah, we're just getting off to uh not an inbound. Okay, we got 13 people in the house. Let me just share this through the network. We'll roll the show out in just a second. Thank you for your patience. All right, this is what, our fourth time? Is this our fourth show?
Oh my goodness. I do believe it is our fourth time. It's amazing.
Uh-huh.
Todd, thank
Okay.
you so much for having me. I'm just so,
Well, thanks for coming. Yeah,
you know,
it's what we do.
really grateful.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a special time right now. It's pretty amazing right now what's happening.
Mm,
Okay, I'm gonna put. Let me just take care of a couple things. I'm gonna put the link up because
sure.
we have been having problems for the last almost 4 weeks now. People getting knocked off repeatedly.
Wow.
Yeah, they claim it's only on these shows. I can't imagine that that's just you know unique to us, but. Anyway, so I'll put it up so people can go in the Zoom room. We've been getting about 25, 30 people in the Zoom room, primarily because of that reason.
Yeah.
But it's okay. It's all right. We just work with what the universe gives us.
I know. I just, I just love the way that you and Morgan are creating this rolling, almost like a TV station or a radio station of consciousness
Well,
training and conversation.
that's the actual goal. That's the objective, is to have multiple channel 24/7
Wow.
platform that is not under the constriction of the matrix
Yeah. Yes, that's right.
machinations, so we don't have to worry about this stuff. Hello, everybody. There's a lot of people in here. Hello. I'm just going to say a big hello to everybody. And
Hello, everybody.
I want to say
Welcome, welcome.
a particular hello to Erin Lee, because I like the way she expresses herself, and I hadn't seen her in a while, and I just wanted to say thank you and I appreciate you. Cabal paid for Zoom. Yeah, well, we're going to go with our own website, our own server, our own stream, and we're not going to have any constrictions or any issues, and then we'll just see what happens. What else was I going to do? Oh yeah, let me put up the let me put up the link. I'm a little bit scattered right now. We're in a state of flux. About to catch a flight to Los Angeles.
Wow. After this.
Tomorrow night. Yeah, we sold all of our stuff, and we were called to go to the mainland, which is what we're going to do. And we're
You
going to.
guys are amazing. You
Well,
just go, okay, let's do it.
it's
Wow.
either that or we're crazy. I'm not sure which one it is. Right now it feels. Let me see. How do I? Pod. How do you do that? Okay, pin the comment. Okay, so for those of you who get knocked off repeatedly off the show on the Facebook Live, we got 44 people in the house. Great number. Just go to the Zoom link. I pinned it. It's the pinned comment. You can just click that link and you can go to the Zoom room and watch it without any issue. Okay? So without further ado, welcome back, Alicia Power. It's good to see you. I'm happy that we're coming together 2 days before the Lionsgate. It's a very powerful day today. We got 2 shows only today. Both of them are going to be very powerful. And there's been a lot of stuff going on. Something new is in the air. I don't know what it is. Where are you at? Where are you at with all this? What's happening? What's going on right now?
Wow. Look, I watch, see, I kind of aren't in the, I'm not connected in with the astrological dynamics so much as I watch the flows in the weather, in the psychic weather. And when I work with my overseer creator beings, these very high levels in the spirit world, we're quite often traveling really high up into the ethers in the layers of the spirit world and just watching sort of the clash of the titans, you could almost say, like the clash of the flows of darkness and the flows of light connecting together and taking a look at agendas, like really high agendas. And So that's where I'm kind of sticking my nose and taking a look, you know. So I'm not kind of aware of Lionsgate, you know, the current astrological portals or whatever, you know. So I'm kind of like, because I'm busy up there.
And honestly, I have no idea what they mean. I know for 2 years prior to this, that 8/8's been a pretty powerful time. I had 2 years ago, I had a
Got it.
No, it'll be 3 years ago now. So 3 years ago, I had a 8/8, and all these essences, all these, you know, what do you call it? Energies came in from Kuan Yin to the Hathors to the Amazon, these tall Amazon women, to all these different ones, Merlin. So I don't really know either. I was going to ask you, when you're looking, when you're, and I think last year was pretty big too.
I love your honesty, Todd. You're hilarious.
So when you're looking at the energy from that standpoint, are you reading it like are you in the creator beings, are you able to read it and decipher it into words, or is it just, and there's nothing wrong with it, because that's what I've been getting a lot of lately, and my own experiences have just been, there's no words, I'm just getting this stuff.
I'm going to just tune in right now and just see if they want to just say anything, because because wait a minute, let's just see. Yeah, they're saying that there's a huge crescendo happening, multi-dimensional crescendo, very much the clash of the titans. They're just saying that, well, they're saying this has been foretold for millennia and millennia and millennia. It's a real crux time. It is so much like these huge thunder clouds coming in, and just as heavy in terms of authority, light meeting it, kind of going, we knew you were coming, and no, we're not going to let you. So it's like this, you know, thank goodness what's in place is sort of knowledge of, you know, what the future is unfolding, like from the worlds of spirit. These guys can see from a mile off what's about to happen, right? And it's all written in annals, you know, in the worlds of spirit. So the future, of course, is in the now. The past is in the now. Nothing is kind of like out of the now. So these guys they understand everything, and they're trying to get humanity out of a pincer. They're telling me to say like a real pincer, sort of a point of almost getting crushed by these forces of shadow that are very real. I don't know if everybody watching this understands that in the quantum worlds, like we're just picking up one radio station, which is the physical. Everybody, you guys are all pretty advanced in your spirituality. I'm just saying that in the quantum worlds, in the spirit worlds, for a very, very long time, especially in this, especially in this particular coordinate point in the energy matrix, which is Mother Earth. She's a real plug hole, if you like. She was, meaning a portal, which was nearly taken over by shadow around the time of December 2012. It was they're telling me to say, and I watched them as well, work with us. It was a really fragile time around that time of who's going to own the portal of Mother Earth. And I talk about her as this energetic coordinate point in the energy matrix, because I've watched, this is really controversial. I love being on your channel because I can say anything. Because I've watched the move, the matrix and that coordinate point in which Mother Earth sits in the energy matrix. I've watched them move it from one level to another level. Like she doesn't sit stagnant in one dimensional framework.
Right.
So they are pushing her out of one dimensional framework. You guys, you know, it's all sort of historical. Everybody kind of understands that we're trying to get up into 5D and whatever. And to me also, that's kind of just jargon, because when you really point blank ask anyone, do they really know what that really is? And but I've watched these guys and they report back to me and they show me what they do. It's only happened twice that I've watched them do this, where they take her from one position in the dimensions and have actually kind of taken her across the universe into a safer position multidimensionally. This is just background stuff. They can do so much, these guys, authoritatively, and what they're interested in is how humanity deals with that pushback of shadow that's just sitting behind the veil. Because it doesn't matter where she is dimensionally, Mother Earth, it's all about the story of the humans
Yes.
on her and how they use their free will moment of choosing free will, using freedom from fear and choosing empowerment where fear could actually own that moment, or if they choose empowerment in that moment. So the whole universe, the whole spirit universe is watching every individual on the planet, noticing which way they go around their free will. So it's a huge experiment. And so sometimes they have actually taken Mother Earth where she's sitting in the spirit universe and positioned her very differently somewhere else, so that that experiment, it's easier for the humans, so that humans have a chance.
Yeah. No, I love this. This opens up a bunch of questions for me. I'm here to learn. Yeah.
Good.
So yeah, you know what? And actually your explanation, you know, because I know the universe speaks to each one of us in our own unique way, you know, but your information actually matches other people's information, although, you know, as far as the description goes, the imagery goes, or the metaphoric goes, it may not be exactly the same, but it is the same. I can feel it, I can see it, touch it, taste it. So first of all, like these, I want to talk about a couple of things because of what you just opened up. One, I'm just out of curiosity. The creator beings, I've probably been spoken to about by other terminology, but can you tell us what is the creator beings? What are they? Who are they? Or how would you describe them?
Yeah. So there are multiple universes, and they're all spaces. They're all projected games, projected thought forms that have become incredibly complex, within which different happiness dynamics play out, or not. And in my early times, because I've been playing with these guys every day, all day, talking to them clearly for 27 years, so nearly 30 years. So I just want to say that in the early days, they were telling me who they were and what had happened.
Yeah.
These days, that's kind of old history for me, and I'm just plowing forward with a lot of work with them, right? But in those early days, I was initially introduced to the overseer, to the guy who thought up the idea for this particular spirit universe. Guys, I'm not talking about galaxies. Yeah. I'm not talking about anything in physicality. He designed the physicality. He designed 3D, this holographic impression that this is solid. He thought that up, by the way. And the spacesuits that we're sitting in. This guy thought up the idea, but what he really thought up actually was the whole spirit universe that packs behind the physicality and goes up in many, many layers, because they're also part of the free will experiment. And Shadow is also connecting with those guys in the worlds of spirit. So I just want to say that I was introduced initially to the overseer of this particular game of free will, this particular universe that we're in. And he was amazing. And he was the one for about 10 years who cleaned up me, who strengthened my Akashic records, cleaned me up on my soul wounding, put me on my feet, did a lot of training work with me, taught me how to instruct him, which meant that he had the permission to come in to his own universe and make changes, because he's not allowed to, because it's a free will universe, right? So he was the one that trained me. And then after that, I ended up getting passed up to layers above him. But what's interesting is that this being had an idea for free will. And part of the idea was the vacuum of no light, which we call shadow. So an absence of the originating force. And that was his idea. And he went to these councils who sit above him, creator being councils above him. So this is way above Elohim. This is way above ascended masters. This is outside this universe. Okay. And so I just want to say that And these councils were cautious, and they, in the end, decided, because he was, I'm being told to say, he was a kind of a maverick, bright kid.
I like him. I like him already.
Anyway, so he had this bright idea of a force of love against an irritation, against a challenge moment.
Yes.
Choose love. And that was the gift back to source. It was like an awakening moment. It was like an empowerment moment. It was like, you know, a choice moment, which to him was the ultimate gift back to source, right? And that's why he thought it would be a really good idea. Subsequently, since that time, I'm being told to say all this, and I already know all this, but
good.
Since that time, it's gone seriously out of control. The software that Shadow has proliferated horrifically. It follows light and tracks it and learns about it because it's self-learning itself. It's like an AI software, and it's self-learning constantly and looking at light and preempting light and trying to shut it down, because that's what its software does. And it's just replicated itself incredibly. And to the point where, to be really honest, the council was sitting above this creator being. This creator being created a universe that was astounding. I look out at nature outside my window, every leaf is astounding. It's like jaw-dropping. You know, no human could create that. I was driving down the road the other day, and I looked at this flowering tree, bright flame tree, and my spirit team said, if a human had created that, they'd call it art. and it's like this little saying in my head of anything. It's like, if I look at anything in nature, if a human had created it, they'd call it art. It's like, so he's amazing. But in the end, these overseer councils could see that Shadow was out of control. And to cut a long story short, they kind of sort of pushed him to one side and had to come in themselves, much higher up beings, had to come in and connect with me and go, guys, we've really got to shut this down. And the long story is leading to this point of Mother Earth, where she is this final portal where, if at that end of December 2012, Shadow would own that portal, would own that plug hole, the entire universe, this is so advanced, the entire universe would flick into Shadow.
Yeah.
So she was this crux point.
Yeah.
And that's why that's why so many light souls incarnated at this time, around this time, for the one simple purpose of holding light in their auric field.
Yeah.
So that we could all just hold light and create this force field together. Yeah. And I just want to say, around that time, these high overseer beings were pumping light through a lot of people really deliberately. Like, they came in, they're going, like, we're going to use our overseer creator light, and we're going to drop down a line, and we're going to be pumping. And sure enough, they put their foot in on that moment and owned that portal. And since then, they're just gently starting to push back against Shadow. They're telling me to say, and I've had lots of conversations with them about this, but they've got a major program of very, very gently re-owning the space in the whole spirit universe. Yeah. So, and they're doing it really deliberately, and it's ruffling feathers. We're seeing currently, again, on the global stage, just, it's like, they're telling me to say it's like a pimple bursting, you know, it's just, it's rising to the surface, it's revealing itself, you know, Shadow, it's
the shadow is.
Yeah, the Shadow is.
Yeah.
It's like this crescendo. Shadow is being kind of poked like a big, dragon or something. It's being poked, and it's stirring, and it's pissed off.
I like what you said. No, I want to hit a couple of these issues. This is awesome. So I like what you said, the little metaphor about the foot, you know. I think, and I was kind of laughing to myself because I totally resonate with that. And there's people that have had the same story again, maybe not the exact same description, but it is the same thing. Yeah. We answered a clarion call. We all came. We're holding light. We went into amnesia. We're doing our thing. And then a big foot came down and kicked us in the ass. And then that was kind of the wake-up call. But for a lot of us, the stubborn human reflected a stubborn soul, which is exactly why they're here to hold the light, because they have such fortitude. You know, I make a joke about it, but what I would like to get more clarity on, and I think people, as I observe things from sitting in this chair and over the last few weeks, there's a real, and I don't want to use the word battle or fight, but there's a real dance going on between what we call shadow and what we call light. Now, I know in the endless end, you know, that everything is one. And we know that. We're coming from a 3D paradigm where there was a serious separation, a duality, whatever you want to call it. There was, you know, good and evil and this and that. But myself and a few other people that have been on the show and some of the comments we've had over the last couple of weeks, people are having experiences of what we might call dark or shadow energies that are integrating, that are making peace, or we're making peace, or something's happening. Is shadow an injected AI maybe into the realm for the way he designed it so that love could be pushed and expanded? Is that a decent description? Or is it a real force, and could it really have taken over even a planet or a galaxy or a universe?
Yeah. It can and has substantially. It's owned. You know, when I first, actually, let me just go back around about 6 to 7 years after chatting with this creator being and working with him every day. He kind of let me know that, and this could be shocking, and this was about 1999, quite a while ago, nearly 20 years.
Yeah.
He told me when that it was at 99% shadow ownership,
Yeah.
the spirit universe.
In 99?
In 99%, yeah.
Right. Which that universe
The spirit universe.
contains Earth, right? Contains
Correct,
Earth.
yeah. Yep.
And now did you say too, and that doesn't surprise me because that was, I mean, I know from just being updated on current events and then just knowing things in my own life, there was a lot, that light that was being pumped into us that you were talking about, it seemed like there was a lot of shadow presented to us, I guess, in order for us to move toward that light or embrace that light or become that light. And like you said, shadows chasing the light all the time, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, what I was
watching light. What light is, and the other half of what I wanted to say about that is that light isn't interested in shadow at all, and therefore it's out of balance. So this whole thing is, the whole design, they kind of didn't think of that. It was like, oh, never mind, we're here.
Well, and I mean, and I would think that ultimately, I mean, I don't know. Ultimately, every experience, every whatever you want to call it, video game or simulation we dive into is an opportunity to expand the soul. Therefore, you know, the macro as well. You know, like the gift to creation, like you were describing earlier. But this one, with the many of the stories, like the story you're telling, and many of the other stories that I've heard on the show and otherwise, there was a call. There was a red alert. It was DEFCON 5, like, hurry up, get your butts over here because this is getting a little out of control.
Yeah.
The only one that I've heard that didn't have that type of feel to it, I want to just run this by you and see what your thoughts are, was Franco Di Nicola. And his description is very similar to yours. You know, he's connected like you are and has been since he was in the womb. Has memories of full life memories on other planets and such. But his story or his understanding is 15,000 years ago. Like, in other words, there's a lot of reboots. Okay, go along, and they might reboot it, reframe it, reprogram it, and align it a little more, whatever. 15,000 years ago, there was the 3D was created or was rebooted or whatever. 10,000 years ago, a hybrid species, a couple hybrid species walk in the door and say, hey, we'd like to up the ante in this game and flip this thing upside down and really make it a highly contrasted experience, which, you know, to the human would be pure hell, actually. But ultimately, from a higher level, a greater ability to expand. Now, this was presented to the souls and the human entities, and they agreed. And that's could also be relayed or compared to, you know, somebody came through a wormhole, had a higher knowledge, they interfered, became lesser gods, reptilian, archon, all those other stories. The difference that I see here is that I just came to the conclusion right now talking to you, is that all these other ones sounds like they were like games that were kind of controlled. This one sounds like something that could have got out of control. Does that resonate?
Yeah, it could have got out of control, very much so. Very much so. See, what I've learned right from the get-go with these guys, with these creator beings, is that shadow shows up in different formats and different species and different types of etheric species, spirit species, whether they've got a 3D body or not, or show up sort of nearly condensed or densified into 3D, just beyond it, and some perceive it and some don't. But beyond all that, shadow is this reigning, the team's giving me this, my teams are giving me this word, a reigning software, right? So software meaning a generic consciousness that shows up in many forms, and through many life forms, through many kind of individuated different kinds of life forms. So it's beyond the individuated life forms, and it has an overarching agenda. You see, as you travel up the authority lines of any, and not even species communities, but, well, they all end up, and even in the light, it gets, as you travel up more and more and more, it gets less and less individuated. Everybody knows this. And so there's this line of, and so many lineages and so many lines of agendas coming from higher and higher levels of light and shadow. But generally speaking, I see shadow very much, as individuated forms. There's different authorities that start impacting any human, like lower authority, higher authority. But in the end, it's shadow. And when you're dealing with a low authority little entity, there will be lots of high authority beings puppeteering it and telling it what to do. If you get what I'm saying? So,
I totally get it.
So it's such a food chain, and it's such a matrix behind it. And so I call it a software where, you know, it erupts via different humans that we can see playing out on the planet. But behind it is an intelligence that's running, that's running all of that, and collaborating with all of that. So I'm just saying that.
I wonder if at the top of the heap there, if there's 50% shadow, well, by our understanding, 50% shadow, 50% light, and like they're like, okay, let's go have some fun, you know, and they start building, you know, I don't know. It's interesting what you're bringing up. Now, Franco talks about an inverted 3D matrix that was agreed to 10,000 years ago, which, from his explanation, from a higher perspective, there is no malice. You know what I mean? There is no, you know, anything that's nefarious. Now, the thing is that, like he says, from his connection and his communion, that the ego is actually AI, and that it was instituted then, and it's what connects us to this higher level game, or we might call an inverted matrix, or the matrix, or the shadow ruled world, or whatever you want to call it. Does that resonate at all? And there's no right or wrong answer. I'm just trying to bring some congruence to the conversation.
Okay, so there are so many games being played out, and on so many levels, and so many ownerships at different levels. And I'm so sorry to to make this simplistic. So
No, I like it.
yeah, but I have to kind of speak in a kind of simplistic way because I don't know the details of all these other games that are playing out. So and that's why I'm speaking in simplistic terms, because I'm usually dealing with the sort of more generic big darkness layers or shadow layers, right? And dealing with those, meaning I'm partnering with beings that are switching those off, like really high up. So and so what I see him describing is one of the games that are being played out, and one of the styles of shadow and what it's rolled out in this sort of multi-stream reality, multi-parallel universe, so many parallel universes. No, I won't say that. Parallel realities.
Yes.
And all owned by little fiefdoms and little overseers in that particular reality stream, involving those particular characters of shadow and of humans and whatever. So and so every human historically, and sort of their archive and their Akashic records is they've got threads connecting to different reality streams and different characters that were involved. And it's our job to go back and unplug all those threads and all those connections.
What a fascinating thing to be a part of.
And so it is so multidimensional, and it is so multi-layered. It is so, it is so complex. Yeah. And the complexity comes right down to this one point, which is relevant to everyone watching this and listening to this, is that there's no one here except you.
Yeah.
You see, you've walked into a holographic mirror, and your job is to own the mirror, is to not be at the effect of the mirror, because your job is to remember that you're running the mirror. So the mirror is just reflecting you. So, and if you forget, you're at the effect of the mirror is smashing you up, or, you know, your reality is running you, right, is affecting you. And so the entire point of this reality is to stop and notice that you're the one who's controlling the mirror.
Yeah.
And if you do that, you win the game.
Isn't that mind blowing?
It's just a video game.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
and that's the same thing that he says, and a few others. I'm not just pulling you two up on the carpet here, but I mean, it resonates. And what I really think is that, like, the most fascinating part of it is, especially with what you're saying, because I totally get what you're saying. There's all these, let's call it frequencies of agenda or storylines or whatever you want to call it. These energetic threads that are connected to each one of us, right? And they're just like multi. And within each one of them, there's a dominant frequency. Let's just say that the originator, the lesser God, whoever is in control, whatever it is. And we're like bouncing through all
many of them, because you've passed through not just physical incarnations, but many soul existences where you were pushed up against different communities in the worlds of spirit. Lower ET communities, really high light and dark and shadow communities as well. And you took on roles, but you also had physical incarnations that were controlled by different and puppeteered. Honestly, really, this is the truth, everyone. I'm sorry. It's the truth. But run by that, your consciousness was collapsed and controlled by etheric beings who just enjoy the sustenance of fear.
So it would be a lot.
The millennia.
It would be like a lot like a child. Let's just say a child grows up. A child is born and raised, say, in seclusion and told this is how the world is, or the limitations that are laid before them, the horizons that are put before that child. And then one day the child walks out and realizes they've been getting BS'd. You know, it's that whole wake up thing. It's almost like a teenager when a teenager goes, "Oh, mom and dad, they can't kill me. You know, they're not as bad as they're not the threat that I thought they were." You know what I mean? When you have that wake up, like we all have, but we're waking up to the fact of what you're saying, which is we control it. It all happens right here. You know, so regardless of how many multi threads are attached to us, we
Yeah.
we are that, and that's freaking powerful. That's freaking
Yeah.
amazing.
Todd, I've got a few caveats on that though. I just want to just quickly say, because that is even complex, that whole what you've just described. It's very true. However, the amnesia, so these souls, all of us souls have incarnated into our personal holographic classroom challenge video game. But darkness or shadow is so prolific and is so sort of embedded in the video game against the original movie or against the original script that sort of was hoped for, right? So shadow now is the software is very embedded in that, in how the movie rolls out. And that shadow, you carry a lot of it with you into this incarnation from past incarnations, from a lot of soul memory, but it's already meeting you as you get born, like through all the portals of your parents or whatever that's surrounding you, and through your early childhood, adulthood. Anybody that you interact with has got shadow portals in them, that their shadow archives are coming through towards you. It's complex. And so guess what? Intervention is needed, meaning that, you know, some people might think it's giving your power away, but it isn't really. It's like if you're in a video game, if you're in a holographic virtual reality video game, and that game, unbeknownst to you, has got a virus in it. The software's got a virus in it that you don't realize. And what's showing up on your video game has got an edge of evil to it, or an edge of really hard, where it's smashing you, where you weren't expecting that when you jumped into the video game, because you thought, yeah, this is not a big deal. I'm a seriously high soul of light. I can handle this. And suddenly you're really getting sort of penetrated with shadow, and you're thinking, this is not what I thought it was going to be. Okay, so there's a level of opponent or challenging force that's much higher than it should be in this video game. And so what I decided to do really early on is reach for the worlds of spirit, grab a whole lot of spirit consultants around me and go, let's steady this ship real fast. And can you please clean up what's hemorrhaging from my past incarnations into this, what's bleeding into this, and start pouring in higher intelligence software from the worlds of spirit to me, so that I kind of ratchet up in my awareness of what's really going on, you know, and let's steer the ship nice and steady through this. But I had to actually reach into the worlds of spirit and grab these guys to help me. So this is a thing that very, very early on, I thought, you know, stuff my ego, I'm going to reach for these guys because I actually need help, because this game's out of control. So there's a level of shadow here that shouldn't be here, and it's swamping me. You know what I mean?
Now, would you say that statement could be said in part or fully from the perspective, I'm Alicia, I'm 20 years ago, I'm a human being, I'm a woman, here's my situation on a very personal level, let's get this straight, you know, let's get this thing cleaned up with the help of this. Okay, so
the point is to turn around with your co-directors in your virtual video game and go, guys, I need an intervention. I actually need to wake up my amnesia much faster. I have actually got to do it really fast. And early on. And that means really accelerate pulling out the shadow out of my auric field, out of my Akashic records, so that I step away from my own resident shadow, which is numbing me down and shutting me down and not letting me remember. So I needed that sort of speed of intervention. So speed was important for me. I'm an Aries and I need speed, but also these creative beings tapped me on the shoulder really early on and went, okay, we've got speed. We're going to drop this line of creator level light into your auric field, wake you up, clean you up, strengthen you up. So the point I'm saying here is that support and intervention from the worlds of spirit is seriously needed. Because we are blundering and bumping into walls, and most of us, don't remember everything in the womb.
Well, yeah, but even if we don't, Okay, and this is where I'd like to get some more, you know, some more to think about. There is a group, at least from where I'm sitting, and I'm not the only one saying it. There is a group. There seems to be, and it could be a very small minority. You know, could be 1%, 5%, you know, whatever around the world, of people that are tuned in that have really, to one degree or another, not necessarily equally in terms of the linear, you know, like you're 20 years, somebody might be 2 years, 5 years, 50 years, whatever, that's starting to materialize and create in their own life a magical fantasy, fantastic type of potential that is not, I'm not going to say it's impervious to shadow, but it seems to be very effective and very effective in its own force of power, and at least at a minimum less and less affected by the force of shadow.
Yeah.
Because in some way they seem to be able to negate it by integrating it, by loving it, maybe. I don't know. Do you have any comments on that?
Two things come to mind. One is that I have a role that I was incarnated for, is to hold light steady against shadow. So I had to learn about shadow. The spirit world taught me over 30 years about shadow. They made me look at it. They made me see it from all angles, and they held me safely while I did it. They also walked me through it. So I sniffed it really deeply and understood it. And that training's continuing. It just keeps continuing higher and higher and higher and higher, different levels of authority of shadow. And also I'll say that there are races of souls that incarnate whose job is not that. See, that's my job. Whose job is to hold innocence and to hold a frequency of light, to bring the collective into a different parallel universe, is to attract a higher collective universe of light, a matrix, a higher dimension, you guys call it, different words, so that the collective can move into a particular future. So, and it's all software, it's all spirit intelligence, it's all, as you know, vibration. Vibration is software.
Yeah.
So all light waves hold unlimited amounts of data sitting in every single light wave. So it's all about intention, consciousness, all of it's, I'm being told to say, supported by worlds of spirit. You know, no human is doing this on their own. They've all got unlimited teams of worlds of spirit, even if they're not aware of it, supporting them, doing it, feeding them knowledge, supporting their intention, amplifying their intention, amplifying everything they're doing, helping them, you know, giving them their senses, you know, of what they feel to do, what they feel to think. So because we're all one,
Right.
meaning that this is not an individual game. I mean, even though I just said there's only one, you know, we're the only person here, there's armies and armies and armies of light beings supporting this crucible, you know, where the fire of the knowledge, the return of knowledge, it's like the where rubbish is getting burnt and the fire is burning the rubbish, burning the shadow. This crucible where something is getting birthed out of the fear, which is sitting inside of us, where that portal, where that expression of light. But at the same time, what's extraordinary is that we're being moved forward with armies of light beings. Everybody is.
Yeah.
Everybody is. But just to say that those guys that are holding that light, are holding a future.
Yeah.
They're dreaming that future, they're holding it, and they're creating a gravity so that future just moves in that direction. So all hail to those guys.
Yeah. And do you think that their presence or their level of presence and power and being is somewhat predicated by us?
What does that mean? What does predicated mean?
Well, I mean, in other words, you can't have one without the other. In other words, by our own efforts, by our own intentions, even though they may seem like we're in a very dense realm and things move slow, which is probably true, you know, but like, for instance, okay, I go out, I walk down the street.
Todd, I love these conversations with you. That's so good.
But I run into, somebody that's homeless, right?
Yep.
Or whatever, a little kid. And then there's an exchange. And from my heart and from the other heart, there's an illumination, a heartfelt illumination, an exchange, and an expansion. So does that affect these multidimensional, other dimensional aspects that you're talking about? Do we affect them as they affect us?
Oh, ooh. I'm being told to say, and I know this also, and they're laughing and they just love the question, because very seldom do humans turn around and even sort of think about them, how they feel, you know. It's like they're going, oh my God, they're thinking about us. You know, they understand what's at stake here. You see, they see, as I said, you know, the future rolling out and all the future stream possibilities, the different streams rolling out, parallel realities rolling out. So they know what's at stake. They know the gravity of the situation. They are 1,000,000% shoulder behind the wheel getting this done. Yeah. So that light regains its normal balance in a very unbalanced spirit world, because the physical dimension is almost the last afterthought. A lot of the battles are happening in multidimensionality, in the world of spirit. So these guys are these armies of light beings are, for millennia and millennia, could see this coming, could see this moment coming, and are so set up, committed, organized, ready, behind us, nudging us, changing us, cleaning us, unpeeling the blinds slowly. You know, even in dream state as we're sleeping, there's a lot of work going on, these guys.
Absolutely.
To support our strengthening. Listen to this. This is really amazing. Like, so that this fragility of the moment of a free will, which happens every half a second, you know, every microsecond of our conscious reality, we're given an option and an opportunity for free will. It's constantly happening in our continuum of our day, so that those microseconds are optimized, so that you as an individual and all of us as a collective rise, because those microseconds are optimized of free will, so that your underlying base, the auric field that you sit in, that interpenetrates you, is optimized in its frequency. Its shadow archives, its Akashic records are cleaned, so that your thinking and your feeling is making choices differently from a higher point of view, from a freer point of view, so that as many of us as possible are in that state, so that like a flock of birds, we're moving in a higher reality stream. Yeah. So I just want to say that these guys are so primed to support us. And what your question was, what's their interest? You know, are they
more like, in other words, we know there's a connectivity there. We know that in some way, seems obvious that there's influence beyond the physical light spectrum, beyond the human senses, whatever that many of us are becoming privy to. So we realize we've been influenced, or we realize in this realm we were duped. We agreed without knowing the whole game. You know, we signed this document or whatever the case is. But my question is, through our energetic expansion on an individual basis, I am soul. When I expand through that connectivity, does it or does it not have an effect on all that I'm connected to, be it creator beings from, you know, or or whatever.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Just tuning that question a bit. Yeah. So, and I think the point I didn't quite make, which is that they explode in joy when we strengthen and when we awaken. Yeah.
So that's what
And
I'm
that's,
getting.
yeah.
So if you do something and I see you and it brings joy to me, it inspires me. It at a minimum provides me an expanded potential of my own expansion. Like she did it, I'm going to do it. You know what I mean?
I love that. Yeah.
She got up and danced, I'm going to dance, you know?
Oh my God.
So I think that you just answered the
Oh
question.
my God, Todd, that is just, I just want to say what you have just said is the answer to everything on this planet. You know, Greta Thunberg, right? She's just an example. What you're talking about is this, the virality of clarity. If there's one person who's clear, meaning that they are not interested in the bullshit, in the side issues, they're just super clear. Greta Thunberg is extraordinary. She's said right up front that she is Asperger's, and it helps her focus. So when she's talking, do you know who Greta Thunberg is?
No, but I want to know her.
Oh, really quickly, 16 years old. I think she started when she was 15. She's doing these climate crisis school strikes. So every Friday she's in Sweden. And so this was about a year ago, I think she started. And now the whole world, all the kids around the world are striking every Friday and are sitting.
I heard some of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So when she speaks at the UN, when she speaks in the European Parliament, when she speaks in the British Parliament, because she's just asked to speak everywhere, because she is clear, she isn't distracted by the side issues. Every single word just strikes everyone in the heart.
Yeah.
About what the truth is. And she's also got a sort of encyclopedic memory, and she's up with the scientific data of the carbon budgets, everything. And so she speaks with detail.
Yeah.
I'm just saying quickly, she's just an example that I'll send you a little video of her. Extraordinary. Yeah. Like she only speaks for 10 minutes usually, and everybody just is speechless. It's like, oh my God, someone spoke the truth. You know, they can't escape it. But what's funny is that when she's speaking to journalists, if the journos kind of go, what about that? And what about that? And what about that? And do you worry? And she kind of goes, I'm not interested in any of that. This is the issue, everybody. The house is burning. We've got to panic. Anyway, but what you were talking about is this virality of when someone stands up, you know, that movie Braveheart. And
oh my God, yes.
Yeah, exactly. And so the virality of the energy of the person who decides to meet fear head on, to not be afraid of it, suddenly the whole army, it infects them. They go, okay, that person's doing it, I can do it. So this is what this little girl, 16-year-old girl's, she's not interested in the popularity contest at all. She just isn't. And she just, what a gift.
Raw.
What a gift.
Raw authenticity. And
so everyone's going far out. It's the canary in the coal mine. Like this girl's just kind of quietly just saying it as it is. And the entire world is kind of sitting back in their chair, kind of scrambled because someone's actually speaking the truth, and they happen to be just 16 years old. But anyway, it's this, if one person stands up fearlessly, everyone kind of, catches. It's catchy, isn't it?
Yeah. And even just shines, period. I mean, it's just the shine, you know. You know, another thing you bring up, I've been struggling with. Now, when I say struggle, it's obviously my own alignment and search and all that, but it's actually what I observe. It's more about what I observe. I'm like, why? What's not fitting here? And I see people trying to do it. We're all trying to do it, right? And we are, and it's evolving. But
Todd, tell me a little bit more what you mean.
Oh, well, I'll give you an example because you made me think of it. So there's so much focus to the point, in my opinion, of distraction and potentially distortion of, and I love my star families. I love the lineage of the universe. I do. I honor and revere it. But as human beings, divine human beings in this transition, we're looking at this landscape. And let's say the landscape is this tall, you know, as tall as the picture here, right? We're only looking here. we're looking here, and we're seeing Arcturians, Andromedans, Reptilians,
okay.
Anunnaki. We're seeing secret space program, QAnon and Trump down here. This thing isn't stopping here. This thing's way up here. And to your point, if you've got these threads, and each one of these threads, which is understandable, has an agenda because they think they're right and they're smart and they're qualified, or maybe they're greedy and nefarious, whatever the case is. If they exist here, you're saying this exists all the way up here.
Mm-hmm.
So again, to thine own self be true. You know,
Yes.
I mean, this what do you, all you got's all you need, right? But I'm just amazed at how much emphasis is given to this. You know, we had the storyline of the human being, right? Now it's a storyline of the ET and the lineage of the human beings, but it's way higher than that. You know, it's like all we're doing is changing one movie script out and putting another one in, and everybody's saying, "Oh, the spaceships are going to land. We're going to be saved." Bullshit. You know, it's bigger than that. You know, and that's
so
what
much bigger.
That's what you made me just clear up. Was how do you explain that? How do you? And believe me, I've had plenty of communion with different star families, very clear, benevolent, and some not, you know, but yes, they're part of a team that's got a team and another team, and there's another team and there's another team, you know, and I just think that just knowing that and being able to talk about that with someone actually does something for me. And I think what I do it for anyone is just to open up to a wider awareness and not stop at, oh, I was Jesus' son in a past life, or I channeled Kuan Yin, or I came from Pleiades. No, it goes way beyond that. And we own all of that. We have access to all of that, I guess is what I'm saying.
We have. It's our human logical minds uncomfortable with that expansion sometimes, because where does it stop? What's its framework? How far does it go? How wide does it go? What does it look like? You know, give me a theory, give me a book written about it. No, when you jump into the worlds of spirit, everyone watching this, there's no theory, there's no frameworks, because it's much bigger than that. It's multi-dimensional, meaning that every single point in the matrix travels in different directions.
Yeah.
So it's not just linear.
It
is super complex. There are communities that can connect with you and travel long distances across many universes to connect with you. It is extremely complex. So when you walk into the world of spirit, my recommendation for anyone listening is to work at finding support beings who you can lean on and who you can trust. So, so you can build the trust by regular communication.
This is what you wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Roll with it.
Yeah, roll with it. So I just want to say that because it's much bigger and much vaster than anyone can write in a book or anyone can set up a framework around. Much bigger.
Can you stay on another 20 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go through. Yeah, because and I'm sorry I didn't answer your email. I never answer emails. I read
That's
it.
all right. I don't care.
I do
don't care,
sometimes.
wherever we go.
But I remember. So let's get down to some you know, gut level, ground level, boots on the ground. You know, this is
thoughts about this. Yeah.
So you sent me an email and you said, I'd like to talk about how do you connect to your spirit guides. You know, so something like that was pretty much it, right? Wasn't it, or am I wrong?
How to hear them better? Because look, a lot of the spiritual community is a bit fuzzy around this, and they don't have criteria, they don't have protocols, they don't have steps to take, they don't have tools.
Yeah.
that are nice and clear, and about the bridge, about the membrane that you push through, and what to do when you reach into the worlds of spirit, so that you stay safe, so that you're so that the being chatting with you has got a nice, clean, light lineage.
Yeah.
Lineage.
Yeah. And this is where I wanted to go right off the bat, because again, shadow, and light, shadow and light. Now, I'm going to say this not just to give a point of reference, I guess, because I'm supposed to. So I know over 8 years, in the beginning, there was some energies that misrepresented themselves to me, but I always had the ability to figure it out. Is that discernment? I don't know, but if it
Okay, so I'm gonna stop you right there.
Okay.
How did you notice they weren't right?
Because
you don't have to go into the details of the story,
no.
but just what was
how would I
in
notice?
here? How did you feel? What was happening?
There was two things. One was I actually saw ego. Like I could tell that it wasn't pure. It was not pure. And then the other one was, I guess, because somehow or another, in certain moments, I was able to see through them. I was able to see them. Like, say there was a mask, I was able to see behind it and say, "Oh, okay." Which this could go into a whole other conversation, which I would love to have with you. But going back to it, what I was trying to say is, from your experience, because this is really for others, I just wanted to make that statement. In that statement, say that it can't just be me. And I've talked to other people too, so I don't know how that works. This is your forte. Well, my question for everybody is how, because people are afraid. They're not everybody. I'm just saying, they're like, oh, you got to protect yourself, and maybe they do. I don't do this, but maybe they do. I used to, but at some point my field got to a certain place, and that includes my team, which I believe is me, part of me too, or whatever. But how do you teach someone to discern? Like you just asked me, how did you know? How do you recommend someone figure out who they're talking to and what is in their best interest and what's not?
Yeah. There's a few ways. When you want to connect with the worlds of spirit, they already know. They can feel you wanting.
Yes.
It's before you've done anything logical at all. Before you've kind of gone, oh, I'm going to start asking a question, or I'm going to ask for someone to come, or I'm going to, in my case, I was, anyway, don't worry about it. But even the moment where you turn your internal attention towards the worlds of spirit, or even wondering about them, they're feeling you. They already know, because it's a quantum world. They're just noticing your energy flowing, and they're noticing your attention turning towards them. So I'm going to be really brutally honest, because Todd, you've got a very grown-up audience. So everybody's auric field is laden with old fears from past lives. That's pretty sort of intense, isn't it? We arrive already with this backstory.
Yeah.
With these clattering pots and pans, we actually just get birthed with this challenge bump on our shoulders. Anyway, so, and everyone's so unique. And so I will just say quietly that, and this is a bit brutal, but it can be an indicator. If you look at your life, your external reality, and how it shows up for you, that's an indicator of how much old fear memory is sitting in your auric field.
Okay, I got you.
Because it's a mirror.
This is good. I like this. I like this. I like this thing that, because we got all these complications, and of course, even here we have all these different things being pulled in by different people trying to say it a different way, and it's all the same thing, but it's all this, what do you call it, super complex. But what I just got from what you just said would take us back to the one thing we can do, which is, by whatever means we're comfortable with, is to remove shadow. is to remove shadow, because if we remove shadow, then we're taking that element out based on what I just think I understood that you said, which was perfect. Did I miss anything?
No.
Is that okay?
We're a movie projector.
Yeah.
And so the occlusions, the cracks in the lens is what shows up on your movie.
Yeah. Yes, I got it. I like this. This is good. People need to hear this kind of stuff.
It's not that complex, sort of, in a way. You know what I mean? Like so it's a mirror image of what you are, the snapshot of all your frequencies that are sitting in your auric field.
This is good.
Is what's showing up.
I like what you said too. I just want to interject this. I like what you said too about the spirit world, where you said there is no theory, there are no postulations, well, guess what? That would actually apply here too. If we would get our head out of all the, the sensationalism and the trivial and oh my God, the savior mentality and all that, and just take care of our own shift, look into ourselves, remove our shadows, be authentic, act authentic, align with everything we know to the best of our abilities in every moment, it takes all that stuff out. But we're all projecting that stuff out because whatever reason doesn't matter anymore. But I guess what I'm saying is why wouldn't the same thing apply here? If it works out there in these other realms where they can see, touch, feel more than we can, or whatever, or they're less dense, why wouldn't it work here?
That's right. I was just going to say all the great sages of history have always said the same thing. Heal yourself and your world will change. Yeah. So, and the eye of the needle, whatever Jesus was saying, like, be like a child, through the eye of the needle, whatever that is. So it's all about becoming internally pristine and becoming innocent and opening and getting rid of fear, the ballast, let it go. And not just because you want to, not because you don't command it. You actually have to get technicians to go into your auric field because it's past your comprehension. Our human perception can't travel to some of these Akashic record archives. They're so far deep and so connected to threads of shadow and overseers of shadow that it's so beyond out of our sort of human capacity to command, if you get what I'm saying. So you've got to grab serious light spirit technicians to go down there and do that job, because they've got the authority, the grunt, the power to go there and close doors, change contracts, renegotiate who's connected down there and who's controlling some of those old portals down there. So I just want to say, it's a job. It's a partnership job. This is why I just grabbed spirit really early and just went, come on, guys, let's clean up. But I was just going to say that, okay, so just trying to remember. Oh, yeah. So we were talking about spirit guides. So it's really important when you do make it when you do have a thought, I'd like to connect with spirit guides, even if I'm not talking about with people who are already advanced at the moment. I'm just talking to someone who's really is starting to talk to spirit guides, is talking to spirit guides a bit, but is getting, isn't quite sure, or is getting into a bit of trouble. So my first thing that I just said is that we're all so unique. We've all got a hugely unique history as a soul. No one of us is the same. Yeah. So the moment of connection with the worlds of spirit is a moment where it could get complex if you've got a lot of fear history and a lot of shadow history in your auric field. Can you hear how this is really complex? It's well, how the heck am I going to find out how much shadow is in my auric field, right? You could just ask that question. But I'm just saying that if you start having complex experiences with the world of spirit, it's because like attracts like, you've got resonances in your auric field that are sending out messages subliminally that you're disempowered, things have shut down, things are collapsed in the software, there's viruses in the software that are sitting in your auric field, and that's the energy that's going beep, 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 beep out there and is fishing for its the same kind of energy, right? Yeah. So I'm just saying that interface, that moment when you're reaching into the worlds of spirit, especially early on,
Yeah.
because when you start connecting with nice, strong, light-filled spirit beings, these guys are going to start helping you really quick, like you did, Todd, and they're going to start cleaning you up and strengthening you up. Just
Yeah.
if you're really regular with your connection with them and chatting with them, they will clean you up, and you get stronger and stronger and stronger.
Well, you know, and I think what's interesting too with what you're saying, it rings true, you know, and then you look at the situation that we're in, and people talk about 2012, and they talk about first waivers and whatever, you know, all that other stuff, is that many people that come on the show, and myself included, had these massive traumas occur, which were like mostly building up, you know, there were certain characteristics they had, you know, the black sheep of the family and this and that and all that. Didn't fit in, and I know I'm not from here. But they had all these traumas in succession, and it was an impetus. Something happened. Like I remember in my own trip, I was always like, I felt like I was always connected, but as a result of the pressure and the stress, I didn't give a damn anymore. I'm like, I'm connecting to this, and I'm not letting go, even if you're dragging me from a spaceship or a truck or whatever. You know what I mean? I mean, I held on no matter what happened. And I think a lot of people did. And I wonder, well, I don't wonder, I would imagine that was by design from these support teams and the influence they could have on events here.
So are you saying that the cracking of the egg, meaning that the buildup of pressure forces the chick to crack the egg and to get out, meaning that
I remember exactly.
It was almost puppeteered. You're saying that this pressure is puppeteered so that you so you become fearless and you go, I'm going to let go. Listen to this. I'm going to let go of 3D as the accepted norm, and I'm going to punch through the veil of 3D and reach into beyond 3D, even though no one around me
and that's the story
is allowing that as a possibility.
Yeah, and that's a story you hear. That's a story you hear all the time. And I remember right before my world turned upside down, because it all happened in a 12-hour period.
Wow.
I remember right before it happened, I remember hearing, I don't hear like audio voices. Very rarely has it ever happened to me, but I heard in a very demonic voice, I would say demonic, but let's just say a very powerful, scary voice, you know, like say like a dragon who's like really powerful, but not going to come and hurt you, you know, maliciously. But it was powerful, and it said, "Get out now. Get out now," which was basically an energetic message. Get out of this situation now. You can't afford to go any deeper. Kind of like what you're talking about with the earth, you know, like the game went a little too far, and it was going to go tip the scales, and the 99% was going to go to 100%, and you're in the wrong type of abyss. You know what I mean? You're like in one where you have no nothing. And I guess what I'm saying is that must have been a grand design, part of the grand design from our higher aspects, or however you want to explain that. Because I hear it all the time, you know. And then there's people like you that, you know, 20 years ago, and, you know, this and that. But there was just this mass influx around 2012. What you're saying was when they said, "Hey, we can't let this go any further. Time to intervene."
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really hearing what you're saying, and it's pretty amazing, isn't it? That shadow actually, and what you're saying is that shadow actually is like the nursery maid to grow up the children in a sense.
This is why I say that, because I personally don't. I could be wrong, and I can only speak for myself. This is my universe.
Yes.
Okay, and that is that I accept all aspects of shadow. I expect all aspects of light. I believe, and what you're saying, it would actually validate this, that in the construction of this multidimensional super complex, too much light can have as harmful an agenda as too much dark. You know what I mean? So too much, you know what I mean? Too pious, if you want to put it in human terms, versus too nefarious or whatever.
Except pious isn't light.
Well, yeah, you're right. I mean, but like, but anyway, that's too complex. What I do want
Light
to
is free. Light is free.
you're right.
It's
Love
not
it.
held in any
Yeah.
format.
That's right. You're right.
Did everyone just hear that? There's no
Mhm.
format around light
Yeah.
at all. Hey, I just want to say something, and you'll love this, Todd,
Mm-hmm.
is that, and I'd love everyone to really hear this,
Yes.
is that shadow is your nursery maid, meaning that it's growing you up, and that it never stops training you. And I'm talking about, in my experience, there could be other people and other experiences, but in my experience, you come out of one training and you move into the next level of training with shadow. So shadow is horrendous.
Yeah.
And many people, some of my students and people that work with me, they know that it takes you to the very edge.
Yeah.
And at that moment of the very edge, and this is what you're talking about, Todd, honestly, and this applies to every level of advancement that you're at.
Yeah.
So the next challenge will be building, and it has the potential, and very often does, take you. I know everyone listening to this knows what I'm saying. It can take you to the very edge of sanity. It can take you to the very edge of being engulfed by shadow. Many times beings of light, unbeknownst to you, will pluck you out of that moment and lift you because they're watching. But also there's a potential in that moment for you to, I'm going to use an overused word, which is surrender. I don't use the word surrender. It's not sort of in something, I don't use it easily because my spirit teachers have taught me what that actually means. And it means asking for help to let go of fear in that moment.
Yeah.
And in that moment, you've got an opportunity to graduate. Is everyone hearing me?
Yeah.
Because you can be on the very edge of being engulfed by shadow. I'm serious. And it is a serious moment because you could actually slide. You could actually slide in that moment. Something really horrific. It's a reality. Something really horrific could happen in that moment. And if it is a potential, and I'm just sort of saying this because even as you keep moving higher and higher in your ascension and in your awakeness, these training moments still happen. And these are opportunities to let go of fear and to own the next level, level of your sovereignty.
Yeah.
Higher and higher and higher. Is that interesting? It keeps going higher.
That's right. And I just want to clarify something. So as well, what I meant is that, okay, God, I had this line in one of the Soul Speaks I wrote that's perfect. But what I'm trying to say is when the perception from the self or the energy, whatever that energy is, the selves, believes that it's the light and takes that to the extreme, that to me is the same, is going to create the same type of imbalancing force that the opposite end of the spectrum would. But you're right. You know, at the end of the day, unconditional love, pure love is light and it is free. It is free. It is free. Everything about it's free. Like you said, there's no format. It's like Tesla's free energy. It just boom, it just runs. I want to get in. I'm going to have to go. But
oh my God, you're going to catch a plane.
No. I've got to go. We've got our other big show today with a lady named Raghida from Australia. And so I want to.
We've covered a lot, haven't we, Todd?
We're going to do it again if you want
we
to.
Could keep. We could just keep traveling down these wormholes.
If you want to, I would love to do it again.
I'd love to.
One of the things that what I had said, and the reason I'm going to bring it up is because a lady on here, I think one of the people that's involved in your courses or your events said, please do it. Please do that, what you said, which was we're going to have to talk about this other thing. That's a whole other show. And we don't have to get into it because I'd rather talk a little bit in the last few minutes about the things that we always do at the end of the show. But that is one of the things that I noticed, because you asked me the question about how did you discern? And what I noticed was that sometimes the energies, now this was early on, but the energies that I would face had some light and some, like say 80% light and 20% shadow. And I also noticed it when I come across people and I'm looking beyond the human, right? And I'm picking up, okay, well, is it, I've seen in some cases where there's actually 2-3 entities in this person, but most of the time it's like they've got 90% of this and 10% of that, and it's like coming from the same person, which is kind of weird, and I don't know how that looks out there in the ethers.
It's just so common. It's just so common.
All the more
Us
reason.
Humans. Yeah. Wow, we're complex, man.
Yeah, I mean, all the more reason to be aware of our shadow. I mean,
exactly.
I don't walk toward the light anymore. I walk with the light behind me, so I can keep an eye on my shadow.
Love that. Look, I just a shout out to everybody watching this that get on with it, get to it, everyone. Start learning how to observe shadow in yourself and other people, so that you're not duped by hoping and wishing that someone is bona fide, because a lot of the time someone is being puppeteered by a little stream of shadow coming through them that's puppeteering that person, and that energy is arcing towards you and trying to embed itself into you. So there's it's just you start learning and you start getting used to it, and ask the world of spirit and ask your spirit guides to help you learn about it, so that you can have compassion for that person and love that person, but what's really going on. You're not sort of naive about what's going on with that person. Anyway,
I love what you said too. I love what you said too about when we're talking about how do you discern, and people say I need protection, and you said we're the projector. So if I'm carrying that fear, that degree of fear, then I'm going to project that. Now I'm looking at this going, okay, about what we talked about earlier. I'm thinking, wait a minute. Well, if I'm focused on the spaceships are going to land and save me, or Jesus is going to come down a chariot blowing smoke rings out his, and save me, or Trump or QAnon, or whatever the case is, that's actually I'm projecting not just here, but I'm projecting into the ethers. So if I'm projecting, if I'm a copy is a copy. So if I'm projecting that here in the physicality, I'm going to get the same thing out here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's a very...
Those entities, because about these, they're attracted to that fear. Yeah. Or to that not knowing, where somebody's creating a story.
So it's an hour.
It's a fear-based story.
It's an hour and 26 minutes. I really enjoyed this. I was actually totally totally out of sorts 1 minute before the show started. Like I was ready to just and it happened like that. It happened like 5 minutes before the show, and then I went on Zoom and it was all screwed up, and I'm like, okay. I went in the bathroom, I shut the door. Well, I shut it with a little bit of sound to it, and I went in and I breathed. I looked in the mirror, said, I am Soul. Let's go have fun with Alicia. But anyway, this is very good for me on a personal level. I'm very happy to.
I'm laughing because there are forces that try and push against. The cold breeze tries to.
Absolutely right about that.
So I just want to say your fortitude, Todd. Good on you.
Yeah,
you got it. You figured
right
it out.
You're like Morgan. You keep me in check. Okay, so tell us, because not everybody, they might have not been on here before. When you're on here, how do we find you? What do you got going on? Perpetually, and what do you have coming up? If you got anything new coming up and that type of thing.
Yep. So everyone go to soulmentoring.com. And on there you'll find courses, you'll find lots of free videos. Go to my blog page. every month I do a live stream like this, which is an hour and a half of deep surgical technician healing in your auric field. You know, talk about going down into those archives and cleaning them up. So yeah, that's it. Thank you. So every month we've got one of those. It's called the live stream. And if you go if you go to the top menu, you'll find courses, you know, events, products, yeah, all of that. Workshops. There's some of those 1.5 hour video workshops for sale for about $22 or something, and the blog. So yep, have fun. There's tons of stuff. My YouTube channel, which is Spirituality for You, or just search for Alicia Power, by the way, everybody, has got a stack of free videos where my spirit guides are talking through me on topics. So yeah.
Oh, there you go. How to talk to spirit guides.
Yeah, and how spirit guides help you hear them. Yeah, there's so tons of training, lots of free stuff. So
Yeah.
soulmentoring.com, and I welcome you into my community. If you want to get on my mailing list, just go to home and jump in on one of those free videos, like anywhere where it says sign up, you know, opt in, just there, right? Yeah.
I think I already opted in.
Yeah, good. So just jump in there and you're on my mailing list, and I'll be chatting to you with emails, you know, whenever, once a week or something like that. So anyway, everybody, so lots is going on. And I run these really beautiful, just really quickly, once a month as well, journeys into nature for about 45 minutes, except it's these creator beings taking us into the blueprints, into the energy blueprints of Mother Earth, and sort of injecting really high frequency light into her. We also meet amazing nature beings that are incredible.
I like nature beings.
Yeah, and we learn to work with nature divas and huge old grandfather trees who actually go into our auric fields and heal us as well. And it teaches you how to work with Mother Nature when you go walking in nature, how to actually work with the trees, and work with partnering with the fairy kingdoms. And so we have a lot of fun on that monthly one as well. So lots of things going on.
Yeah. You do that once a month.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, until the next time, we will. This is
Todd, you're amazing.
This is our second. This is our second to the last Soul Speaks 5D broadcast from Kauai, Hawaii. We have one more today, and then tomorrow we're heading out, and we're going to go start a new chapter in the Soulogy story. Our effort to contribute to the expansion of the collective and the universe. And I'm excited. We're excited. Some people might think we're going on a wing and a prayer, but you know what? That's what it's all about.
You guys are amazing. Todd, you and Morgan are amazing. And may the angels of light walk with you, you know, as you're just quietly, because you are steering your path so beyond logic, and just from the heart. Yeah, both of you. And may the angels of light walk with you, you know, just holding you guys steady.
I'm taking
awake.
that. I am absolutely taking that with me. I will take that in for a second. And Paul, I saw your note, and anybody in Los Angeles, we're looking to co-create and collaborate. We're making it up as we go. And thank you so much for that blessing. Thank you, Milana. Thank you for putting me up here when I got here. And thank you, everybody. I'll see you later. Bye, Alicia. I'll see you. We'll do this again soon.
Yeah, Todd.
Okay.
Be safe. Bye.
Best to you and yours. Bye-bye.